So recently this offseason, there's been a discussion ramping up about running backs in the NFL, specifically on them getting paid. There's been a numerous amount of running backs who have not gotten good contracts or haven't gotten contracts at all, who are unhappy. And today on Instagram, I saw a post that there was a Zoom call between the running backs to kind of figure the situation out. And I'm going to be taking kind of a both sides approach to this because I think some people are just being dumb with this situation on both sides. And I kind of just want to get what's really going on out in the air so you guys can know and basically know what's going on with these running backs. Especially because running backs in fantasy football in particular are so valuable. So it's going to be important if you're a fantasy league guy to know what's going to happen with these running backs and maybe why this is happening, just to gain some insight on it. So the first question when it comes to this running back business is, why aren't these backs getting paid? What is the reason that running backs are not getting paid in today's NFL? When a couple decades ago, maybe not even that long, go back to the 2010s, running backs seemed like a much more valuable position. And it has to do with modern league thinking. One obvious reason that people will think of, but isn't entirely the case, is the dominance of the passing game in recent years. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers. These guys, Tom Brady, they can dominate the game without needing a serious running approach. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl without any crazy talented back there. And this has happened before. This is more of a modern thing, but it's starting to become more and more apparent. Even look at San Francisco, who has great weapons. Debo was even great in the run game, but there's this trend with San Francisco where they just kind of plug and play random running backs into their offense. They just kind of rotate them, and it just works out no matter who's there. And that's because the running back position isn't about the running back necessarily. Now, there are backs who are good enough to impact the game in a very advanced level. There are some nuances to the running back position that can make a running back more valuable. Talk passing game, run blocking, and just good, talented runners can impact the run game. But as a whole, besides the top echelon of guys, we're talking about Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, those kind of guys. The running back position is very, very replaceable. The reason the market is turning on the running back isn't a conspiracy. It's out of sheer need and value of the position. It's the running back just isn't what it used to be. When we're talking about what makes a good run game, we're talking about coaching, we're talking about offensive line is a very important thing, and even outside weapons like quarterback can really help elevate a run game. If you go to Baltimore, you don't need a Nick Chubb in the backfield because you have Lamar Jackson. And with this dual threat quarterback approach becoming more popular, the running back position is decreasing in value even more than it already was. And that's why this offseason seems like we've hit a low point where Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, these guys are getting upset because they're not getting good contracts in the open market. And while this is unfortunate for these backs and you have to feel sympathy for these guys, it's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. These quarterbacks are getting paid much more because they're much more valuable to the team. Even wide receivers, their contracts are going up because we've seen how impactful a number one wide receiver is for an NFL team. Someone like Tyreek Hill can make a difference not just in the passing game, but in the run game. Deebo Samuel, these guys are so impactful to their teams compared to the running back, who is impactful. Okay, that it's not like they don't do anything, but their impact is much less than most other positions on a team. Now, this kind of brings me into the next point here, which is running back isn't the only position this happens to. I would say linebacker not edge rusher. Like outside linebackers and schemes can be edge rushers, but we're talking off-ball linebackers are pretty similar in this case. Now I do think they might get paid a little bit more. I haven't checked it directly. Someone leave a comment about maybe some stats about this, but unless you're like, I don't know, Eric Kendricks or, oh my God, what's his name? Fred Warner? Oh no, that sounds so wrong. The 49ers middle linebacker. If you're not one of those guys, you're not getting paid that much as a middle linebacker because it's a replaceable position on the defense. The defense has the same thing. The middle linebacker or just off-ball linebacker on the defense is the running back of the offense, where they just don't have that big of an impact on the game themselves. They're very reliant on other people around them unless they're an elite ball hawk sort of guy, very versatile, like an Eric Kendricks per se. Besides that, linebacker is hard, and so is running back. To be an elite running back, you have to have good vision, and to be an elite linebacker, you have to have good vision. But when it comes to these positions, most people aren't good enough to elevate the offense on their own. And I think the last point I'll sort of make here is something I don't see people mentioning a lot. But when it comes to running backs not getting paid, you have to understand, because the NFL has a salary cap, there is a finite amount of money that is able to be moved around. Okay, if you pay your quarterback $50 million, that means your other positions are going to suffer because you're not going to be able to keep guys, maybe running backs, wide receivers, offensive linemen, defense, etc., because of the high contracts and the salary cap in the NFL. And when we're talking about running backs not getting paid, it's not just a bad thing. It's bad for the running backs, but it's good for the other positions. Having running backs not get paid is allowing guys on the offensive line specifically to get more money. It's allowing guys on the defensive line to get more money. These kind of interior, trenches guys are getting paid more because these running backs aren't. So, well, yes, guys like Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley, they should be making money, and teams should be wanting these guys, right? But when it comes to running backs not getting paid, there is a silver lining because other positions like offensive linemen, defensive linemen, they get paid when historically they haven't been. And that's good for them. These guys are super unappreciated. And offensive and defensive linemen a lot of times have the toughest job in the NFL. Oh yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention, I'll just throw it in at the end here. The other positions on the offense being more valuable to the run game isn't the only reason running backs don't get paid. It's also because they're just not as durable as other positions. If you're signing Joe Burrow to a 7-year contract, you're not too worried about if he's going to be on the field. But with the running backs, they take so much damage consistently on the field that just playing them is just a ticking clock. We don't see running backs generally who have really long, healthy, high production careers. Think of someone like Derrick Henry who's entering his 30s. He's gonna have a fall off. Marshawn Lynch had a pretty big fall off. Adrian Peterson. These guys are really good backs, but once you hit that age, you're gonna start to fall out of your prime. And over time, the running back position has diminishing returns. We'll just say that. They have diminishing returns because at the beginning of their career, that's when they're going to be the best, typically. They still do have like a prime in their mid-20s a lot of the time, but over time, they're going to become less valuable because there's a higher injury risk. Think of guys like Melvin Gordon and, what's his name? Todd Gurley. Those two were some of the best backs in the league in their prime, and then they just fell off out of nowhere. And that can happen to anybody, which is why these teams don't want to pay these guys a lot of money, is because it's risky. It's a risky investment. It's just like in finances where you have these, you can put your money in a safe fund that'll steadily increase over time with less return, or you can go for a riskier investment except the running back position doesn't have a good return on those risky investments, so nobody is making them. But anyway, that's just some of the deal with these running backs and why they aren't getting paid. Let me know your thoughts. I mean, there could be some things I haven't thought about here. There could be some more nuances on the other side of the argument. I just realized that I said I was going to do like a two-side nuance approach, and this video was kind of just me ranting about why running backs aren't getting paid. But I don't know. I try to see things from both sides, and to me, this just seems obvious. So if you guys did enjoy, thank you, and goodbye.